Welcome, everyone, to the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. My name's Abby Payne, your co-host, and we're excited to have conversations around what it means to be a modern woman, reconnecting with our sacred work as feminine beings, rebalancing the masculine feminine energies.
I love it. I'm Chelsea Henderson, your other co-host, and thank you so much for joining us for our messy, informal conversations where we just explore all that is so important to us and what we think is important for the world. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. We're very excited today to be all together and have a very special guest with us, Taylor Smith. Welcome,
Hello,
Taylor.
Hello.
So to introduce Taylor, we know Taylor through another guest that we had on our show, Katie Smith, which is Taylor's mom. And Taylor was, Katie was at a studio where we met, like a women's empowerment studio. And then we became connected with Taylor, and she has an incredible story and incredible work that we're excited to share. So Taylor has worked with animals and their humans since 2013 through service dog training, forest therapy, and nature-based healing practices. Her work focuses on deepening the human-animal bond through nervous system awareness, compassionate connection, and forest bathing, which we love, to support both people and animals through stress, grief, and transition. So welcome, Taylor. We're excited to have you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. So should we start out with maybe I think we should start out with one of our questions. We have a couple of questions that we like to ask guests just to kind of get into it. And I think you are perfect for this. I'm so curious we like to kind of get a gauge for where people are at in terms of are you connected with your human design, your astrology, your Enneagram? Do any of those things play a role in your life in kind of how you engage with life, with yourself, with other people, how you define things? Or if they don't, we want to hear about that too. So that's kind of one of our consistent questions just to kind of keep us all this through line. And I'd love to hear how you relate to those things.
For sure. I'm definitely what you called a mystic. And I really work with tarot cards a lot in my meditations. So a lot of my messages come through that. Astrology, I connect very deeply with as well. So I'm very much into listening to astrology podcasts like Rewilding with Sabrina. She's amazing. She's all about embodiment.
So good.
Astrology. Pam Grangry's great for intellectual purposes. She's more of a teacher, so I could kind of get lost in her work, but she's very knowledgeable as well. There's also Michael Leddix, who's on Instagram. He's the guy in the red robe, and he posts every morning at 4 a.m. about what's going on for the day. So he's kind of a fun short snippet to watch. I also love Gene Keys, if y'all are familiar with that. Gene Keys is more in depth. I'm very much into really steady, esoteric knowledge and ancient wisdom and all that. So I tend to dive deeper, more deeper layered knowledge, if that makes sense, rather than more surface level astrology. And I'm more fascinated about how our DNA and how our cellular structure changes over time as we evolve and as our consciousness evolves. So, because we have the ability to unlock a lot of our DNA. And, we've been told ever since we were born that 97% of our genetic material is junk, which is fucking bullshit.
That is fucking bullshit. It is fucking bullshit.
That's the narrative that we're fed. And that's how they control the masses. So it's all about population control. So we need to continue to learn more about the ancient knowledge and the wisdom that has been buried deeply in ourselves and in the culture that we grew up in. And beyond that, and also connecting with our galactic families as well. So yeah, I connect with a lot.
Well, that is so. I remember Katie talking about a lot of this as well, gene keys in particular, and introducing me to that. I hadn't heard of that before. And that, yeah, our DNA is within our conscious control in a lot of ways, and like those genes. And do you know, like, I'm sure you do know what your sign is, your astrology sign and your human design? Where would you fall on that?
Yes. I'm an Aries, Sun, a Libra, Moon, and a Gemini rising. And
Beautiful.
my human design is I'm a generator. Oh, I like to make shit happen. A lot of fire along with the Aries. Yeah.
Wow,
Love
that's a lot of
it.
fire.
Totally. A lot of energy. I love that.
Yes.
That's good. We need that.
You did.
I'm a slower mover and I'm a thinker. So
What are
my
you?
favorite place to be, I'm a projector and an Aquarius sun. So you can usually find me standing outside in the trees, kind of just like watching and just thinking about how it's all happening, how it's all coming together and what will
Love that.
happen. And I have a lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Amazing. Yes.
yes.
No,
Yes.
yes,
And
it's very good.
I love how we all come together. That's the part
Yeah.
that really gets my excitement generating, is just like all of us have these parts that we are all these parts that come together and make this really cool whole. And that makes me feel so inspired. I
We
love that.
did.
I love
Yeah.
how you talk about too, just the narrative of the, our genetics being junk, which I think is hilarious. It's like, why would they exist? 97% of us, like, why would that even exist? And I think it's such the ego terminology for just, we don't know. It's like, instead of
Yes.
just saying we don't know what this is, which, well, that's junk. We don't use that. We don't need it. And it's like, well, interesting that's it's feels very modern mentality, very almost capitalist, of just like, oh, that's junk. Just push that to the side, keep going. And
Yeah.
I just love the exploration of, well, what could it mean? Like we don't have to necessarily know for it to have meaning in our lives and for it to be a part of our day-to-day journey and adventure. So I
Yeah.
love your perspective, just the curiosity. Super cool.
And I'm not super versed in astrology. I'm learning. I've learned that it's a wide field and there is a lot
It
to
is.
learn. It's much deeper than you think on the surface when you first learn about it. It just keeps going. But I'm really curious, as someone who has so much experience with it and with gene keys, and I think you said astral family and things like that. I don't know, with all that information, do you feel like you're able to see the charts and kind of know what you're here for or what your offering is, or how does it inform your life?
Every day is a mystery.
Yes.
Yes.
For the most part, I'm just here to lead by example. And that's how I feel. The more I continue to evolve my consciousness and start to see things for what they're not really. So say we live in the matrix, right? And everything's an illusion. But if you start to educate yourself to look outside of the matrix and really see things for what they are, what could be the possibilities, using quantum mechanics at your own expense, really experimenting with what you can create, because you have the ability to create the reality you want to create. But you also have to have this strong practice within yourself to have gratitude for what you have at the moment, even though it may not be everything you want it to be, what you want out of life and what you're here for. And some people are here to have families. Some people are here to do humanitarian work and make a big impact in the world. Some people are here to just connect with the animals. And that's why I really resonate with. some people are here to be healers. Some people are here to just work a corporate job and they learn lessons through that. So everybody's journey is different. But I think it's really learning how to be okay with where you're at and just enjoy the human experience, because you really are a spiritual being having a human experience. And so at the end of your life, you go wherever you go in whatever your belief system is. You go back to source or creator, and then you go on to the next step of evolution, wherever that may be, or you go elsewhere, like whatever your belief system is. But here, I really do believe that I'm here to take in all the knowledge I've learned in all the lifetimes I've lived through my spiritual practice, through my connection with everyone here in this life, and my communication with animals, and just grow as much as I can. Because really, I don't really have any like huge career goals or want a family, or I don't have anything like that. I just want to live in a cabin in the woods.
Yes.
Animals and be in nature. And if I can make money doing that, great. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. I have money in this life, so can't get out of that one. But, it's just really, how can I just be with my presence, really, in this world?
Gosh, that brought tears to my eyes, Taylor. I love the perspective of really creating space for everyone and everything that everyone is doing. You talk about someone working a corporate job, someone who wants a family, like a lot of things that I feel like it's so easy to disregard, just working for the man, or, just wanting to be a mom. And I love how you just encapsulate all of it into purpose. Like it's all got a purpose, and it's all for the expansion and progression of what we're doing here. And I love that so much. It made me emotional. It was really sweet. And I think that acceptance is something that I've found for myself growing in my own expansion, in my own work recently, of not thumbing my nose at anything, just because it's not for me, or because I don't necessarily see the purpose for it, does not mean it doesn't have a purpose. And
Exactly.
I feel really inspired by that. I appreciate that opinion, or that perspective, a lot. Thank you.
For sure.
That's really cool.
It's very healing perspective. I agree. Like,
yeah,
just that idea that everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's on their own journey, learning their own lessons. And there's this quote I've been living by lately, which is tend the garden that you can touch, or tend the part of the garden that you can touch.
Yeah.
Rather than looking at your neighbor and being like, oh, why are they growing that? Looks gross. Or like, I hate tomatoes. Why would they grow tomatoes? It's like, well, that's not even your garden. That's not your business. What they're growing. What do you want to grow? What kinds of foods do you like? What do you want? How do you want to set your garden up? And what values do you want to have behind it? And it's just like, just so freeing to allow people to be on their own journey. And it releases a lot of judgment. Even in my own body, I feel it released when you share that perspective of like, right, someone climbing the corporate ladder is learning the lessons that their soul is needing to learn on that path. And the big career aspirations, I've had moments in my life where that's been my journey. And I'm like you, I'm like, I just want to like, how can I get paid to just vibe? It's just, chasing or calling in our own versions of success, which kind of means knowing what you want first.
And who you are, right?
Yeah.
I think that is something that I've really landed in recently. Is there was so many years that I was doing what I needed to do, right? I don't look at it in judgment, but there was a lot of codependence, a lot of performing, a lot of external, right? A lot of like, it's my job to care for the people in my life. And at that point in my life, I didn't understand what that meant. And so I thought it meant just give them everything. And, and I didn't really know. I knew who I was if I would close my eyes and be quiet for a minute, but that didn't happen very often. And so it was that moment of, oh, this is who I am. And it still means I can care for the people that I love. And it still means that I can participate in this world and in this life. I just do it differently. And I'm even reflecting in this moment, like the energy. I love that like we're in different physical spaces and we're in different, Abby's in a different state from us. You and I, Taylor, are probably 40 minutes away from each other at this point, drive-wise. And we're in this space together, and I feel this calm energy. And Abby, I think you nailed it with the lack of judgment, right? It's that like you brought that into this space, Taylor, when you introduced that idea of just everyone being on their journey and you just let go of the judgment. And I realize sometimes how the judgment creeps in and my body gets tight and I get uncomfortable, because it's just not the energy that I'm meant to hold and the energy I think most of us are not meant to hold. And how this calm sets even in a virtual space. It's just this ease. I really appreciate that. And I think that comes from just allowing for your own journey, allowing for what you're doing, who you are. That's very cool. And I'm curious, do you feel like your work with animals developed that for you, or that's what drew you to your work with animals? Because I feel like that's very much in that space with animals. The animals don't judge. That's not what they're here to do. They're just being. What's your relationship there?
I think I always had this innate ability to have this energy of understanding others and being empathetic. And I think as I got older, I saw that animals were the model for that. And so when I got into service dog training, and the reason I got into it is because me as a deaf individual growing up, I always wanted a hearing dog. But, being raised by a single mom, she's not really a dog person. So I never really had the option to have a dog. So when I turned 25, I came across my first dog, who's still alive to this day. She's 14 now, and she's retired. She's deaf herself, so she can't do the work anymore. So it's kind of ironic in that way, but she did fabulous service dog work for me in home, letting me know what sounds were going off that I couldn't hear or pick up on. Anyhow, so when I got into service dog training, I really began to learn animal communication, behavioral training, but then it was over the course of the years, the last 10 years, I've really been able to tap more into the energy communication of animals, especially dogs, and just understanding how they hold space for other people, but also through my own experience with my own dogs. I also had another dog who passed away a year ago, a German Shepherd who lived to be 12 and a half. And he really taught me a lot about the masculine. And my Fury dog, who's a female, represents the feminine. So I was able to experience both sides within myself through my experience with them. And so that helped me also develop this understanding of what is showing up for me through my dogs. Therefore, able to express that to the client. What is their dog expressing or showing them through the behavioral problems, through issues, through their anxiety, through their depression, whatever issues that they may be having. People didn't understand how to communicate with their dogs. They just said, oh, my dog's being stubborn, or my dog will listen, or my dog just gets really anxious when I leave the house. Well, take a look at yourself. What's going on with you? It's
Oh
a
my gosh.
reflection. Our dogs are mirrors of ourselves, right? So
Yes.
I'm able to translate that to the client and really help expand their awareness of, oh, let me take a look at myself. What's going on in my life? I'm really stressed out. This is what I'm dealing with, all the changes that are going on. I didn't even think it was affecting my dog. Yeah, no shit,
Mm.
it is. It
Wow.
affects your dog. Everything that's going on with you affects your dog.
Oh,
People are
wow.
like, oh, so
So then
Mm.
you are really a healer of the human. It's just you're just taking this other. I mean, like really, that's such a beautiful way to reflect, right? Because they're such empaths.
they
I
are.
mean, my first dog who came to me in my early 20s lived with me through the death of my mother, through moving multiple times, and he was with me until my son was 8 months old. And he was 14 and a half. I got him when he was 8 weeks old. He was my first baby. And oh my God, I mean, my love for him, I mean, it's just a different version of the love I have for my son. And it was like this, I could see in him. It's funny that you say that because I remember these moments of being like, I need to get my shit together because he is suffering. Like, I can tell
Mm.
he is not okay in this moment because I'm not okay in this moment. So we both need to shake it off and go walk in the woods. And, it was such a great, like, kind of anchor for me and also a reflection for me of my own health and or dishealth in moments. And I just, you're making me think about it in a whole other way. I never really even thought of it that way.
Me too. I have a cat. Her name's Luna. She is my family. I mean, yeah, it's just an incredible bond. And I think Chelsea and I were talking about something similar of just she will get kind of anxious, meowing, meowing. She's allowed to go outside whenever she wants. She has freedom to go in or out, but not at night because of coyotes. But she will go inside, outside, meowing. And what she wants is for me to go outside with her. She just wants to sit in the dirt
Yeah.
with me. And then she's content.
I
And then
love
she
it.
looks around and she sniffs and she might close her eyes, but she wants company. And when I'm busy or have my little things going on, I can become annoyed that she's being annoying, right? Meowing and wanting. I'm like, what do you want? Do you want out? And she's like, I want your presence. I
Yes.
want your presence and I want it outside. And I'm like, oh, turns out that's what I want too. Because when I do
Yes.
go out with her, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is what I need. And it's just recently, yeah, become apparent that it's a reflection of where I'm at when she's
Mm.
meowing like that and anxious is I'm going too fast. I'm not taking the time to be with her and to be with myself. And that's something I just recently connected. So to hear you say that is just like reaffirming to the connection that these animals have. I mean, they're like our spirit guides. I don't know. She feels
They
like my
really
spirit guide.
Yeah.
they are.
And
Yeah.
family, like you said, Abby.
Mhm.
Really, it's just, yeah, there's something so intuitive about the way that they move through their lives. And I
Mhm.
think that I reflect a lot on this. Again, working a lot recently to reflect on this, not in judgment, but I reflect a lot on the culture that we live in and how everyone, there seems to be this kind of trick that's been created of like the busier you are, the more successful you are. And I find that to be a real bummer because the people I see who are really hitting that mark don't actually seem very happy to me or successful. And my dogs are like, hey, let's lay in the grass and soak up the sun And let's, like, and the way that they do it is they do what humans used to do too, where they go out, they run, they do the thing, and they, we got to protect okay, there's a thing over there, we got to bark, we got to go. And then they come back and they lay down in the sun next to each other and they don't move for 2 hours. And it's like, that's the balance, right? Of the like, go do the thing and then you're good. Like, you don't have to keep going. But there's something that I think has been created, and I find this in myself all the time, where I've done the thing and then I'm like pacing around the house. Like, well, okay, I gotta go do another thing. I can't just like shut down and let my body rest. And the more I practice that, the more I feel like I'm more aligned with them. And also the more I feel like I'm healthy and
For
more
sure.
who I'm supposed to be. Because we're not supposed to just go, 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 go. And it's not actually, I don't think, what works for our bodies. And
Yeah.
certainly not our souls.
Yeah.
And they're actually
Everything.
both here now, sleeping.
And we've been conditioned to just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And another piece of my work that I'm really trying to bring attention to people is, how do you regulate your nervous system and their nervous system?
Yes.
So I just completed my professional certificate in canine nervous system regulation. So I went through this course, learning all these somatic exercises that you can do for your dog. So I'm teaching this to clients. So any client that has behavioral problems with their dog, I'm going to start at the nervous system, because that's where the problems start. That is the root cause of everything, humans and animals, period.
Yep.
Yeah.
So getting people to be more aware of that. Okay, your dog is having this issue. Okay, take a look at yourself. What's going on with you? How is your nervous system? You need to regulate your nervous system. We can help your dog regulate his or her nervous system. And then you could be coherent and in balance with each other. And then over time, you start to realize how fast you can recover from a traumatic event, a spooky moment, a sad, depressing moment, like whatever's happening in life. But at least they would learn the tools on how to bring themselves back down and know what's right for their bodies, for their dog, and for themselves.
Wow.
So,
That's
That
so
is
cool.
so cool. I'm really curious about that. Like, I worked at an animal shelter for a little while during the pandemic. I walked the shelter dogs, and we took a short behavior class that was required on like how to tell based on their body language. Are they feeling comfortable? Are they feeling nervous? Are they excited? Are they, because sometimes nervous and excited can look the same. And you walk into a pen thinking this dog is so excited to see me, and really they're like not, and they're feeling intimidated. So it's like how to read that. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. That was just 101, how to be safe as but then when it comes to them and their stress, I think they talked about like if you see the dog like shake, and shiver, then they're like, or just they would tremble in the corner of their cage because there's a new environment and all these other dogs are barking. But I'm kind of curious if you wouldn't mind sharing more about like animal behavior, like how do you calm a nervous dog, or what are some of those skills?
yes. So, for a dog who is nervous, so no different than us humans, we have fight, flight, freeze, and shut down. So we have 4. And dogs go through the same process. All animals go through the same process as us, depending on how their nervous system is built and has experienced throughout the course of their life. So for a dog who's really scared in a shelter environment, and I really want to start working more with shelters around somatics, because I think there needs to be more education on them being more aware of not pushing dogs that are in that freeze mode or shutdown mode, and just start thinking of more innovative, creative solutions on how can you lessen the stress in a shelter environment. We can't eliminate, how scary it is, but we can at least try to lessen some of those stressors there. And, and again, that takes funding. So whole nother problem to look at. But anyhow, for a dog who's scared, if they're going to be frozen or shut down, really it's all about entering a quiet space with them. So you can try being in their kennel or see if you can get into a quieter room away from all the dogs. And depending on the dog, once it enters the room, you are just there as presence. So you're not forcing the dog to be touched. And it's no different than a human. For someone who has experienced extreme PTSD or domestic violence and is afraid of touch, the first thing you want to do is not touch them, right?
Yeah.
Because that can trigger something no different for a dog. So it's really just being there and holding the space. And when they choose to come to you, then you do a light touch, depending on where in the body. But again, you're looking at their body as a whole, like how is their stance? Are the muscles looking tight? Are they looking a little loose? How are their ears? How is their mouth? How is their eyes? Like you're looking at all these different little nuances to really put together a whole picture of how that dog is responding to the quiet environment with you just being there. And then you slowly build over time. And it can take multiple sessions. It can take 1 or 2 sessions, depending on the dog's nervous system and their resilience in terms of recovery and getting used to you being there with them. And there's different ways to touch a dog and where to touch it. But it's all going to be based on what the dog tells you. So it's really using your best judgment in terms of your knowledge and experience and your intuition. And I like to bring that in because people don't listen to themselves enough. They go, okay, well, I took this course and this is how it goes. This is the format. No. This
Absolutely.
is the framework.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is what you know.
Yes. It's like
Now,
that
you
with
just-
humans too, though. I find this a lot with children. You know, that I think that we have really lost, lost might not be the right word, but I see a lot of neglecting intuition in the way that people interact with other humans and with children especially. You know, there's a lot of projection, a lot of doing what we think we should do or what would work for us and not reading any of the signs. It's interesting to me being someone who really tries to lead with intuition as much as I can and who innately has led with intuition much of my life and seeing the disconnect there. Like a lot of the stuff going on with kids, right? There seems to almost be like a cultural fear of kids because we haven't made any space for children in this culture a lot. Like, you know, there's this like emerging brewery culture where you can like bring your kids and let them run amok and like everyone kind of hates it because no one is actually taking care of their children and everyone's kind of being a jerk and like the whole thing's a little fucking insane. But there's not a lot of room for it, right? There's always like the person on the airplane that's like, oh God, a kid. And it's like, yeah, it turns out we were all fucking kids, dude. Like kids exist because otherwise we don't exist. So like, if you can't make space for that, then maybe you're the problem. I don't know. But it's like this, we fear it because we've disconnected ourselves from that intuitive, like, look at them, listen to them, right? I mean, I try to practice this a lot now with the other adults in my life because I think I shut myself down to that where I was just like, I can't with other people. I'm overstimulated. I just can't do it. I'm so frustrated with other humans. And now I'm like, okay, let's take a moment. I'm like, you can tell like the crinkling around someone's eyes, the strain around the mouth, the set of the shoulders is like, this is maybe not the good moment to try to broach them with a new topic. This is not the moment, or it is like you can read it. Like it's really profound and actually quite easy if you open yourself up to it. And I think what you said is really important of like not discounting your intuition. You know, if you do see someone and your gut says, they're not in the mood to talk about something hard, then listen, that's okay. You know, you're probably right because we can feel on that energetic level. And I think animals are such a great representation of that because we're not speaking in a spoken language. So we do have to rely on the unspoken language, and it exists, and it is very much there if you're open to it. I like that. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It makes me think about those nonverbal cues. Which it, like you're saying with the, the eye crinkling and things like that. I don't know why maybe some people have what we would call empathy or the ability to see how other people are feeling. At least for me, I feel like some of it is from trauma of like growing up walking on eggshells, right? Like, how's mom's mood today? Okay. Like, is she, stressed? Is she in a good place? The tone of voice, the way of her face, the way she's walking, what she's eating, like everything I would take in because my mom was kind of scary. She had a lot going on and she has very big energy. And as a small child, it was very intimidating. So it was very like, I learned all those cues, and I've noticed in contrast with my partner who didn't have that kind of experience in the same way, we will be watching a movie or a TV show and I will be like, ooh, she's pissed. And he's like, what? No, she seems fine. Next scene, the couple's in the car and she's like, I'm pissed. Why? How could you have said that at dinner? And I'm like, see, I knew. And he's always like, how did you know that? I'm like, I see how, look at her. It was obvious. Like her face, her eyes, her shoulders, like he doesn't see those things and I see them. And in some ways I read into them when I shouldn't. A tone of voice. Oh, they're frustrated with me. Oh, I'm in trouble. I shouldn't have said that. Or they're, all of that when maybe they're not. But I have that heightened awareness. And I wonder if there's a connection for you with your upbringing or being a deaf individual, like, just seeing the nonverbal communication or how that maybe came for you. You said since you were a kid, you've been very empathetic.
Yeah. I definitely think it was a combination of things. Trauma definitely played a big part. And also being deaf, growing up in a hearing world, and the world is not made for people with disabilities. So that's a whole nother piece that I'm still trying to make peace with and not have judgment for, because I judge the world. I will say I'm very guilty of that. I carry this, I would say feminine rage around that, for sure.
Yeah.
And I've earned it. I've earned it.
Yeah, girl.
There has to come a point in my life, and there will be a time in my life where I've made peace and not have judgment around that, but it's not right now. So
you're in the right place, my friend.
Yes.
You're in the right place. Yeah, catch me on the right day.
We all have a rage. Like, we need to, do something about it. And that's what creates change. And, as long as you really stay untrue to your own truth and really advocate for what you believe in. And for me, it's for people with disabilities. That's always been a big thing for me. Rooting for the underdog. Because the world just doesn't see things in the way we see things. And kindness goes a long ways. But also, growing up with a lot of trauma with my parents and alcoholism and then abusive relationships in the past and, just kind of being lost. I was able to pick up along the way lots of nonverbal cues, like you say. But I think also on top of that, in being deaf, it also allowed me this whole other ability to really see things that people can't see. So more in the energetic sense. And I do have the ability to communicate with animals on the other side. So when I go and meditate, I can tap into those animals, spirit guides on the other side. I also connect with my grandmother on the other side. She's also a guide of mine. And I communicate with her all the time. I see shadow figures every so often. Like, there's things I'm able to see beyond this realm. So I think that also helps to bring in the communication piece of seeing things that people are not seeing. We all have the ability to, but it's just a matter of awareness and just believing. people say, I have to see it to believe it. Well, how about the other way around? How about you
Mhm.
believe it and you see it? That's what imagination is, right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. That is, yeah, the nonverbal and the spiritual. I see auras sometimes, and I used to think that it was just like my eyes. You know,
It's not.
I would see like the outline of someone, or when they would move, I would see like sort of a stagger, and I'm like, "Oh, am I like okay? You know, what's going on with my eyes?" And then I heard someone else talk about seeing auras, and they described it exactly the same as what I was seeing. And I was
That's
like,
amazing.
"Oh, I'm seeing something about this person and starting to learn more about that." But just like we can get so locked into the senses that we have. I think is it Alan Watts who says the 5 colors make a man blind
Yeah,
because you
they do.
see just, oh, that's red, that's green, that's brown.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not brown. That's like this reddish brown with flecks of green. It's not very few things are just brown and green. And, you know, there's all this spectrum of color. It's this moving, living thing. And then the light changes and it changes. And it's those having written down the 5 colors can
Yep.
sometimes block out everything
And
else in between.
it's the 3D world that we live in, the 3D reality. Everything's dense in this reality. So only 5 senses come into play. But in reality, scientific studies have shown, I can't remember the exact number, I think it's between 25 and 33. We have 25 to 33 senses.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
really?
And I think that goes in line, again, with our genetic material. How much are we able to unlock if we just look beyond this reality? So,
Well, we have the reality that has been created that we all participate in this kind of material life, I think is a reality created. It feels very rigid oftentimes
it
to
is.
me, right? There's a rigidity of like, it's this or it's this, right? You're a Republican or you're a Democrat. You are black or you're white. You are woman or man. And it's just amazing to me. Like I've been back on the Wayne Dyer. I've been reading another one of Wayne Dyer's books, and he is such an inspiration to me. And the one I'm reading now is his book on intentions. And, he just talks so much about how, if we, the way we can self-limit using the limitations of the societal input, right? If I just am constantly in letting the inner voice say, that's my limit, then that will be my limit because it is what I believe. And if I can kind of work with that inner voice to remind myself that everything we're experiencing exists in a universe that is ever expanding, then I'll start to get in line with that, right? My expansion will continue to be at the forefront of my imagination, which will then drive my quote unquote reality, right? The reality of this world. And I see so much of the rigidity creating stuckness for people. And I think again, the judgment, right? You put my judgment of that to the side, then you start to see how tricky that is. People are just trying to live in the world and be, and there's so much of coming into this human existence that we're kind of fed. You come in and you're raised by human beings who have been affected by the world and other human beings, and the story continues. And so it's such an interesting journey to just shift the narrative a little bit, right? To expand, because, this is the thing I love about how subjective this reality, this experience is, and that's something that I love about animals, is that there's just none of the storytelling that we get into that creates a lot of that stuckness, right? Of that one time that happened to me, and then that's my reality, right? And I can't let go of it. My dogs don't do that. My dogs are like, cool, it's another day, it's another moment, we're in it, we're doing this. And I think what you're talking about with the expansion of the senses, I feel like they're just so in that. They're and the more that I unburden myself of the rigidity of this society and this culture and this kind of 3D material world, the more I realize, oh yeah, my senses are much broader than that, right?
Yeah.
Even just the sense of taste, right? It's not just one sense. It's there's so much going on. You can have the top of your mouth, under your tongue, the side of your tongue. I mean, all these different flavors, and that is smell, hearing, sight. It's all the same. I have bad vision. I have juvenile cataracts, and without my glasses, I'm legally blind. And so I've experienced the world through very differing sight abilities. And so wayfinding has always been stressful for me. And as a designer, I worked a lot with accessibility and ADA because I feel like the world, right, as we know it, this material world, again, that rigidity is exclusive to so many, yet so many of us are here and we exist. And I think that I have noticed how incredibly diverse my one sense of sight is, because there have been different moments where I see differently and I experience taking in the world differently. And I'll compare it to a lot of my husband, and I talk about this all the time because he's got, he wears glasses, but has very keen sight with his glasses. And even with my glasses, I'm like a little, and we'll have this discussion. He's like, "Oh, you don't see it that way." And I'm like, I don't see it that way, but we're both seeing
literally
the same thing. Literally. And it's just
perspectives.
absolutely. And it's amazing to be able to share that versus being like beyond the pale from that, right? Like if you're excluded from that versus included, and how it broadens so much there. And I find the animals are such a great representation of that, because they're just doing it, however it is, whatever it is. It's just, okay, we're in the moment, we're doing it. Like, let's go. I like that.
Yeah.
I think it's good reflection for us, because I think it's really hard to not get stuck in the rigidity, right? I mean, you talk about money, and I think that's such a great example, right? Like, we need resources to live, and we live in this world. That's a certain reality of what we're experiencing. And I don't think anyone here is trying to say that doesn't exist, or pretend that doesn't exist, or try to ignore that fact, right? And that's pretty universal to what we're all doing here right now. And it can feel so limiting. It's such an interesting resource that there's so much of it, and so many of us could have it. And yet it's this almost like self-imposed limitation, or it's imposed by another. Such an interesting, rigid boundary that exists, yet it's something we made up. It's something that we can make more of. It's something that there is enough of. And I think about that a lot in terms of that kind of like the scarcity of it, and how the scarcity makes people do a lot of things for it. And yeah, I could go on and on. But I find that to be a really interesting example of the kind of rigidity of the made up world that we're in.
Oh, I agree. And that brings another thought that I always try to bring them to people that I talk to is when they are in that scarcity mindset or limiting mindset, I try to open up the possibilities of asking for guidance, for signs from the other side. Reaching out to your ancestors, reaching out to your spirit guides, whoever, whatever your belief system may be, like just asking for your help, because we always have help. We just have to ask for it, whether it be from another person or from the other side.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But a lot of people don't tap into that possibility of being like, what do I have got to lose? Show me where I'm supposed to go, or show me the perfect place to live, or show me the perfect job, or please bring in a partner that I really, want, someone who is kind, and, all these things that they want. Like, ask for it, but do it in a way where there's no attachment. That's the other piece to it.
That's the tricky part.
A lot of people are attached to the outcome because they don't trust that the universe can provide that. And therefore, that leads to not trusting yourself.
Yeah.
So I guess.
And trying to make it happen on your own.
Exactly. So it's like, ask for what you want, let it go, continue about your day like you normally do. Think about it once or twice, but don't be like, oh, I really hope it happens. Okay. I really hope maybe today's the day. Oh, maybe, it's like, let the attachment go. And detachment, I think, is the biggest lesson for us all, is how can we live in detachment with unconditional love, acceptance, no judgment, neutral observer of your own reality. How can we do that? That's overwhelming for a lot of people, but it's a practice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I mean,
yes.
it's practice. I think that I think is the word that helps me, is like, this is just practice, because some days it's easier than others. It's hard not to get married to an outcome. Like, what if it turns out your perfect partner is you and you really want another person, or what if it turns out that the right job for you is not the glamorous one that you thought it was going to be, but it is the right fit for you. And it's hard because I think the material conditioning makes us very attached to the look of something, right? That, and it has to fit that. Like Wayne Dyer talks about that, where he talks about, loving yourself for who you are, because we're all divine, perfect creatures of the universe, right? Like, we were made on purpose. None of this is happening by accident. And he'll talk about, like, the apple blossom on the apple tree grows an apple every time. It just does it. It happens. Like, it just keeps happening. And so the fact that we all exist it's on purpose. It's supposed to happen. And the way we are is the way we're supposed to be. And that can be really hard to swallow in a world where we all look around and go, but I'm supposed to look like that to be successful. I'm supposed to act like that to be successful. I mean, you talk about the feminine rage, right? Like, that's something that has been such a journey for me. It's like, to be a good person, to be the best version of myself, I have to wash out all that rage, because people don't like it. It's unattractive. It's not ladylike. It's not nice. And it's like, well, but it exists, right? Like, how I want to find a place for it, and I don't want to harm others with it. That's not what I'm looking to do. But if I try to contain it, then it comes out and it does harm others. So, like, let's be realistic about the fact that it exists and it's part of us. And yeah, it's a practice, I think.
It is.
That's the word. Okay, so then can we switch gears a little bit, because I want to talk about the forest bathing. When we did our call,
for sure,
you talked about doing forest bathing. And of course, like, my mind just goes to the pristine forests of the Pacific Northwest, or up in the mountains here in Colorado. And you blew my mind, Taylor. I've been thinking about this for 2 weeks since we talked. Like, just being in a room with a plant, or looking out your window and seeing a tree. So can you just expand on your definition of forest bathing and how you integrate that into your life and how you offer it to others? Because I was so inspired by how you offered it.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. Forest bathing is a way to connect with the natural world in whatever environment that we're in. So, and I know it's very easy for people to, just think of, oh, I have to be in the woods in order to connect with the natural world, to forest bathe. But that's just a term. It's just a label. So maybe we just change the label. It's connecting with the natural world in whatever way that works for you in that moment. So if you live in the city, like, say, downtown Denver, and there's not really a whole lot of natural environment around you, but there's trees out there. So you can go sit outside on a bench and sit next to a tree. You can go sit on a grass at a park nearby. You can be surrounded by plants in your own house or apartment. You could have rocks and crystals nearby. Whatever is natural to you, you can sit with. And it's really about coming home to yourself and your own senses. So in the framework of forest bathing, where I got my certificate in, they talk about the five senses. Of course, this is the reality we live in, but they also bring in the heart energy. So how does it feel to connect with your heart? How does the energy feel outside of your body? And they'll walk you through, like, what do you feel on the left side of your body? You may not feel anything, or you may notice that there's a wall, like you can sense there's something there. So they bring in that type of sensory experience and along with the five senses. And again, this is something we'll talk about. Somatics is when you feel anxious and nervous, start grounding yourself. Okay. What do you see? Okay. What do you be? What are you touching? Okay. I'm touching this. It's bringing me back to my body. What am I smelling? What am I tasting? What am I hearing? So we bring that sensory experience into forest bathing, but we'll do it in a more natural way to connect with the natural world, because that's where we come from. We're from nature, and people over hundreds of years have forgotten that.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Yeah.
It
So-
really opens up your whole perspective
it does.
of everything. Like, I'm living in this tiny house now, and we had some ants. I put Luna's kibble down last night, and it got swarmed. And I was like, oh, there's ants in here. So we put down the diatomaceous earth and whatever, and it stopped them. They're seen any, but I was taking a shower last night in this tiny little shower that's in this tiny house. It's dark. There's no lights in there. There's old wood. Like, it's maybe a 15-year-old tiny house. It's all made of wood, recycled wood from an old schoolhouse.
Wow.
And there was an ant that crawled out of a crack and back into another one. And I was like, oh no, like the ants. But then I thought, like, yeah, how many, like, we're supposed to live with bugs. Bugs are like, our ancestors lived with bugs outside or in the hut or whatever, where there's little creatures that share a portion of your space, or maybe it's a spider in the corner. Like, and we hate cobwebs, and we just want everything so clean and sterile, which I get. I was like, oh, another ant. But it was kind of beautiful to just share this little space and moment. I'm like, I'm in a very small house, and there's some ants that kind of share this space with me. And how can that be, like, good? I don't know. It was a little bit comforting in a weird way of, like, yeah, I'm living in such a way that there is nature coming in through the walls.
Yeah.
At the right dosage.
Yeah. But we are that, right? I mean, my little guy and I were just talking about this a couple of days ago, that the human body is made up of just billions of little tiny organisms. So, like, when we, in the human experience, like, I get it. I don't want bugs crawling over me while I'm sleeping. There's a certain evolutionary imperative to keep ourselves a little distant from that, right? Like, some of that can harm us. I totally understand the natural inclination to keep a little separation. The human bodies are much more sensitive than a lot of other living creatures on the planet, and we have to care for ourselves differently. And I totally understand and respect that. And also, I think we've taken it a bit too far. Like, I remember growing up and seeing commercials for, like, the air spray that would kill the germs in the air that made it smell, and it was like, okay, first of all, we're never going to kill all the germs, because by killing all the germs, we kill ourselves, right? Everybody who's been spraying Roundup on their lawn because they can't bear to have a fucking dandelion or whatever, turns out that it's slowly causing all of us cancer and killing off the natural ecological systems that keep us all living. So we have to be aware of how much we try to keep that at bay, right? But then, like, Abby, you could speak to this. If you're having surgery, you want a sterile environment, right? There's certain places where, like, it's really appropriate. But I think about that so much when I reflect on my own body. That this is not, again, like you said, Taylor, it's dense in this reality. So, like, this feels like a body, right? I'm wearing this sweater, which, by the way, your mom gave me. This is a Katie Smith gift. I'll just point out.
way.
Yep. I put it on today for you.
That's awesome.
But I think, I'm this body. It's one thing. It's singular. And it is not one thing. It's a whole ecosystem in and of itself. And if I can't respect the fact that there's just hundreds of millions, if not billions, I mean, I don't even know the number of tiny little guys. Those are all bugs, technically, right? If we're thinking of it in terms of little tiny creatures, so I think there's I think, Abby, to your point, there is a beauty there of just getting back into the flow of the fact that none of the things that we see as solid, hard boundaries, it's all living. And it's all living on multiple levels. So if those little ants are coming in, you don't want them to eat all of Luna's kibble. And they exist and they're all over the place, right? Like we talk about this a lot living in Colorado with spiders. Like my son is afraid of them. And it's like, I think we need to get on the same page about the fact that there are so many spiders within a couple feet of you all the time, always. And they're part of the ecosystem that keeps us going. If we get rid of all the spiders, if we see a black widow, we do kill it. Because if they get too close to us and they bite our dogs or they bite you, we're in the hospital. That's a big deal. Okay, fine. The little green guys that live in our plants, let them be, man. They're just doing their thing. And if we're really freaked out by them, then we capture them and we take them outside. And that's our boundary, right? But there's something beautiful about getting back in the flow of the fact that this is all alive, all around us. And that's okay.
Yeah. And force bathing, in a way, brings people back to that level of see that every sentient being that exists outside is living their life. They have their own journey. They have their own purpose. That's what makes this planet so beautiful and functional and evolving and growing and all that. It's like, there was this one story I was told in my forest bathing course. There was this guy, we were asked to go outside. And keep in mind, this course that I took was super accessible, very inclusive. People all over the world were on this cohort that I was involved in. And we were from all over the world. We did this virtually. So wherever we were, our instructor would have to ask us, okay, we're going to take 20 minutes, set a timer for 20 minutes. I want you to go outside, go wherever there is nature. And I want you to, they would give us different props, is what we call them, props. So say, go sit next to a tree and, start dancing with the tree and see what comes up for you. Whatever that looks like to you. Some people dance, some people didn't dance. It's not like you have to dance. You can do whatever you're called to do, but that's your prompt. And it's open-ended. You do whatever the fuck you want. So there was this one guy who, laid on a log and he started noticing ants just trailing up, like worker ants, just trailing up along the log. And he just spent 20 minutes watching them. They're carrying little things back to their colony and, just really working hard. I mean, ants are adorable. I love them.
They're so cute. They're so cool.
It's just these cute little, tiny things you could just squish. And that's the end of a life. But they do so much for us. We don't even think about it because they're so minute, right? And we're so big. So he comes back to the circle after 20 minutes. They bring everybody back and they say, they open it to where people can share if they want, you don't have to. And so this guy shares the fact that he noticed these ants working so hard, relentlessly, nonstop, just kept going. And he started reflecting how he's been doing that in his own life. And he has yet to take a pause and realize, I am exhausted.
Wow.
Watching these ants is making me realize how tired I am because I've been going nonstop for so many years in the corporate world.
Wow.
So it's little things like that. When you go back to the natural world, it brings it back to yourself and you realize what you've been missing. You start to notice what you didn't notice before. It makes you become more present with yourself. And therefore, the more you start to implement that practice, no matter where you are, you start to really increase being present. And then therefore your gratitude grows because you start to see what you're grateful for rather than seeing the problems. So
What
it's
a
shifting our
shift.
mindset.
What a shift. It's radical. It's actually radical. And
It
it's
is.
empowering because we get to choose that every moment.
We
And
do.
it's a lot, it's a practice, right?
It is.
And these things you're talking about, connecting with our animal family, connecting with the natural world, even if it's just sitting down with the peace lily that is ubiquitously in almost all of our homes, it's just to just be in that space with it. I think about that on the cellular level, right? The cells in those bodies are just, they're just at a different level. They haven't pushed themselves to here, so that they can get that next thing or whatever. And it's regulating and it's really
It is.
beautiful.
It is. And also it brings me another thought, Abby, when you brought up that you're living in this tiny home now, and it's like a 15-year-old tiny home. Keep in mind, you've got wood behind you. This tiny home is made from nature.
Yeah.
That home has a presence. She has an energy. She's holding space for you because she's made of nature itself. So it's like when I moved to Washington a year ago, and I never saw the house that we were going to rent. I did a FaceTime tour before I showed up. And, my partner and I decided, yes, we're going to live there. We show up, and immediately my partner was like seeing all these problems with this house. But for me, the first night we got there, I sat in meditation and I tapped into the energy of that house, and I can feel how worn down she felt. She felt so tired. She needed TLC. She's like, I'm sorry, I'm not what your partner wants me to be. And just, I haven't been cared for by the owner for years. I'm doing the best I can, like I was like,
Okay.
no. And we're
Yeah.
here to really make it livable and enjoy the space that you have. And so it was like my way of letting her know, don't worry about my partner, but I am here to honor you. And thank you for letting us be here. And we will do the best we can to make you hospitable, and up to standards. So it's like really taking into account of where you are and knowing that everything has an energy to it.
That is beautiful.
So the
It's
tiny home
beautiful.
that you're in, I'd be curious, like, how does it feel while sitting in her? What is she bringing up for you? What does she tell you? Or is it
Her
a he?
energy is
It could
really
be.
amazing. Her energy is amazing. Our friend Tito built this house,
Wow.
and he and his family live just in the big house next door. So it's in his driveway. And it's amazing to have the builder here, showing us things, and that one of the sinks was kind of dripping underneath. And so he was like, oh, I have all of my notes from when I made this back in like 2013. Before tiny houses had really even blown up, he was building this thing, and he knows, like, oh, how did I put this in, and how did I put this in? And he was very intentional with where he got the wood. Like, the wood floors are from an old school that was being either remodeled or torn down. There's no off-gassing of any of the paint or any of the materials, and everything is made of natural wood. And
Wow.
it's just like, she feels so well loved, and he's tried to sell it, or he's thought about selling it. And the people that would show up, they want to use it maybe as like a hunting cabin, and Tito's vegan.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, or just whatever the energy is maybe some like kind of grungy guy who's just looking for a cheap place to live. And he's like, no, I want it to go somewhere that just the energy of the home is really important.
And he put that energy into her.
And you
So
can feel it.
she's
You can
very
really
well
feel
loved.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I'm really inspired by the whole forest bathing accessibility.
Absolutely.
Because just like what Chelsea said, I thought, oh, forest bathing requires a 40-minute drive and a whole day to get to the mountains, to go on a trail, and to be guided by a person doing a forest bathing experience. And to hear you say, go in your own backyard and sit on the grass and see the ants and see the nature around you, it made it so accessible, and it's just such a perfect kind of, I think that we do that. I do that with the spiritual human experience. It's like God is over there. God is a 40-minute drive down the road.
Yeah, like,
And it's like,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
he, she, they are here. They're in the wood and your skin and your
All
hair
around
and
you.
the ant in your shower. And like, it just was really like, oh, right. It's all right here for me.
it is.
God
It is.
God is my 6-year-old who is trying to get my attention right now. All right.
That's true.
2 minutes.
That's true.
2 minutes. Okay. Well, it's summertime. My husband's on site. I have a 6-year-old boy here, and he has given me an hour and 10 minutes graciously. And so I'm going to wrap up so that I can go and tend to my sweet boy. Taylor, first of all, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're
For sure.
such a lovely human and so inspiring. I feel like I'm leaving this with that, Abby, exactly what you said. That recognition of how in my grasp all of this is. None of this is it's inclusive is how I feel. Like this is also inclusive. Like it's just available to us. If if you can connect with your animals, your plants, the tree in your front yard, the grass in front of your apartment building, any of it, it just feels inclusive and like such an offering. I think there's so much of our world that makes it feel like, oh, you have to buy the thing, you have to earn the thing, and it's there for everyone. And I really love that. So thank you for that. And we will put in the show notes any of this, but how can people connect with you?
Yes. So I have a website called liminalcommunication.com, and I can email it to y'all so you can see it. And it captures a lot of my work around dogs. So dog training, nervous system regulation, but also offering, forest bathing, sessions. Although I don't really like to charge for forest bathing because that's something we all have access to. So as a dog trader consultant, whatever I call myself, I like to bring that up as an option in one of our sessions. Like, is this something you've thought about doing with your dog? Like, just go sit at a park with your dog and just start grounding yourself. And that'll help your dog's nervous system as well. So anyway, so you can find all my information on there, liminalcommunication.com. And they can email me through there.
That's
and
amazing.
for our listeners here, we are planning on doing a forest bathing session with Taylor. So
Yes,
that
we
will be coming
are.
up.
We're so excited about that.
Keep an eye on your newsletter or sign up for the Modern Sacred newsletter at modernsacred.com. And you will stay up to date on that. And it will be virtual because I live in Oregon and you both live in Colorado. So we'll get to experience it as an offering that is accessible wherever you are. So if you're interested in that, go to modernsacred.com and stay connected.
I'm really excited about that one. That is awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Taylor,
Me
thank
too.
you for being here with us today and for sharing yourself. You're lovely. Of course, I knew that because I have gotten the pleasure of getting to become friends with your mother, and spending time with her is just peaceful and joyous. But you're just your own version of beauty and peace and calm, and it's such an offering. And I appreciate that people like you exist and are in my sphere, and I'm grateful. So thank you for being here and for sharing this with our audience and with us, because I'm expanded. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Same.
Thank you for letting me be on here and
Mm.
talk to y'all. And I'm so
Yes.
grateful for each of you too. So
Yes.
happy to always expand my circle of
Absolutely.
like-mindedness people,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I feel the
thank
same.
you.
Just like the universe, we're ever expanding.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much. It's been lovely. And thank you to anyone who joined us today. And I look forward to that forest bathing workshop. That's going to be beautiful, beautiful. Thank
Me
you.
too.
Until next
Thank you.
time, to all of our lovely listeners. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. We're so glad you came.
If you'd like to learn more about Modern Sacred, our offerings, book clubs, and women's events, you can go to modernsacred.com or follow us on Substack.
We were so happy you were here with us.
I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening.